Hail to the king, baby.
Hello, friends. It's me. It's Michael B. Thank you so much for checking out the channel tonight for another episode of Chill and Chat with Michael B. Tonight, according to Mr. Clutch, it's a show we already did before. I can see P-dubs now. What is this, a rerun? But it's not. This is an entirely new show, entirely new conversation, whether you want to admit it or not. Tonight, we're going to take a look at Arcade1Up. This company was once known as the flag bearer when it came to acquiring licenses and companies to bring us all the best arcade titles. So much so that other companies like AtGames, iArcade at the time, really had a hard time going out and getting the licenses their fans were asking for, because Arcade1Up not only had 95% of the licenses in the bag, they also had somewhat of an exclusivity towards those licenses. It looks like that's not the case anymore. Pandora's box has opened up. A couple other companies have managed to wrangle a couple licenses away from Arcade1Up. Could more follow? So we're going to take a look at the potential list of competitors for Arcade1Up moving into 2025 and talk about which companies they could potentially work with or steal from Arcade1Up's library of those 95% of licenses to bring the games we want to the home arcade community. Hopefully this show is as much fun as it sounds in my head to me. This is Chill and Chat with Michael B. Alright, so I want to say hello to some people here in the chat. Always first, one of the nicest guys in the community, Dan Z. Dan, good to see ya. Thumper Squid's here. Let's go, wonderful gamers. John D. JJ says, John D. would have the most success at pilfering titles unless he has some sort of non-compete clause as part of his severance from there that would prevent him from doing so. Otherwise, New Wave Toys. Accordingly to California law and the new law in the U.S., non-compete clauses can't exist. Mr. Clutch, like I said earlier, love the community, love this hobby, but I feel we've been talking about the same things each week for the past year. Maybe I'm super repetitive, man. I don't know. Frank D says, I'd love to see another version of the Evercade Versus with Capcom games loaded on it. We've gotten 2 handhelds and 2 countertops with these games, so it'd be nice to see them with a home console. Interesting pick there, man. Of those options, I would pick New Wave Toys because Michael B's channel is about toys now. That's not true, man. Where are you getting that from? Actually, not doing toys anymore. The the Mondo Ghostbuster toys broke me. Stupid Fat Hobbits here. Who else do we got? Whoa. MSU Rich is here. Good to see you. Jason Little Alien. Cleveland Gaming Classic says, sup nerds. Carlo says, let's get this party started. Tim York. Dr. Torque. Hello, everybody. Nooner says, Burry. Satoshi Matrix, do you know anything going on with Unico? I'm still waiting on my Nova Blast and worried the Canada post-strike might make it even more delayed. It depends on which way they're shipping. When you ordered it, did you give any shipping notification? If not, I can try to reach out to Unico. I don't have a lot of luck getting emails back from them, but I can reach out and see if I could get some information. JR says, hello, everyone. Hey, everyone. KR Cool King 36. I really hope one of them acquires the Alien vs. Predator license. Been kind of anticipating that one. I know that was rumored from Arcade1Up. We even saw the mock-up. Nothing came out. But Steve's Retro Gaming's here. Addicted to Arcade1Up. Angelo P. Good to see Angelo. Fourth Horseman. Always make my day better, bro. That's so good to hear, man. Makes me feel better when you guys show up and hang out with me. MSU Rich shouting out the moderator, Jason Little Alien. Good to see you, my man. I think that's everybody. If I missed anybody, I am greatly sorry. I also know P-Dubs was rocking and rolling tonight, and he's got a fiery show going. I don't know if he's finished up or not. If you're still watching P-Dubs, hopefully you catch this part on the replay. So the reason I'm doing this show tonight, like, there's other things I could be doing. There's other things going on in the community, other events. I could get angry about companies and people doing shitty stuff, but I want to talk about the simple things in this hobby and in this gaming hobby. So late last night, let me just bring this up on screen so I can share this with you. I was actually down in my basement in my arcade. I had just finished The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. Beautiful game. Had a lot of fun playing it. I'm glad my pig-headedness and stubbornness on what a Legend of Zelda game should be didn't stop me from actually trying this one out, because it's another wonderful adventure in the land of Hyrule. Certainly not a Zelda game, Legend of Zelda game. It's a Zelda adjacent game, but it was still really good. I had a great experience, loved every minute of it. So anyways, after I was done that last night, I wanted to take some time and enjoy some time in my arcade, and I really wanted to play some pinball. So I went down, but I knew I had to do an update to my Godzilla. So I said, while I'm waiting, I'll just mess around on some of these Arcade1Up machines, and the Killer Instinct caught my eye, and I decided, you know what, I want to play through Battletoads. Hopefully someone's online and will jump in with me and I'll get a two-player game. No one was online, so no one played with me, but I played through the entire thing. It's a long-ass game, too. Took like an hour, and the update was finally done on Godzilla, but I beat Battletoads, had a lot of fun, but while I was playing it, I couldn't help but think about it in my head. Wow, this is the last time we're going to see these games in an Arcade1Up product. We all know that Microsoft, Rare, have since had some kind of falling out with Arcade1Up. The exclusivity is not there. We don't know why, whether it had something to do with Arcade1Up not fulfilling contractual agreements, problems with sale. We don't know the reason, but what we do know is that, I'm just going to pull this up on screen, Microsoft have since left, and they've gone over and started working with AtGames, and at some point in the future, we don't know exactly when, there's a Killer Instinct AtGames Legends Ultimate 4KP coming out, and that's where that relationship lies now. So realistically, we've probably seen the last of Arcade1Up working with Microsoft Rare, and the funny thing about that is, I feel bad for the people that didn't pick up the Pro. Well, I don't feel bad. You guys didn't spend $1,000 on something that probably should have been $800. But I feel bad because there's a lot of people out there that I'm sure loved Killer Instinct, loved the experience. They just did updates to the way the online works. They've got, I forget what the mode is now, where you can actually watch. I forget what that's called. So they have the exhibition mode now where you can watch other people play, look at the lobby, and see who you're going to fight, which is not something that was really there before. So there's been lots of upgrades, but we've seen the last of this. There will be no KI Deluxe. We won't get a better machine than the Killer Instinct Pro. And it got me thinking about all the companies that have worked with Arcade1Up over the year, the 95% of home arcade companies that, Arcade1Up have bragged about time over time over time, that they had in their wheelhouse, that they might not just have in their wheelhouse anymore. So now we also know there's competition on the way. Obviously, Media1Up is going to be at CES. They've got something cooking. New Wave Toys have already staked the pole in the ground, said at some point they're going to do large-size cabs, arcade recreations. We've got that rumor about Basic Fun basically coming out with an Arcade1Up competitor as well, and working with Atari. And then we've also got AtGames. Of course, they're never going to be that company, but they do have a Killer Instinct product. And Evercade really came out and tried to attack Arcade1Up head on head in the countercade market. So, there's all these companies out there that are looking to get into this arcade recreation hobby that Arcade1Up has had, lock, stock, and barrel, had cornered the market on. Now there's cracks in the foundation, and these other companies can come out, maybe get these licensed, and start really competing head-to-head with Arcade1Up. So that's the idea. Mystery Encoder says, I also doubt AtGames will have spectating for KI or proper rollback play online. Yeah, Mystery Encoder, AtGames is using MAME for the emulation, so it's going to run like shit. I don't know anything about that. I remember when I used to talk to PK a little bit more, when I was closer with him a long time ago, he asked me about who they should get to work on Killer Instinct, because they wanted to make sure it could also work not just on the Legends Ultimate 4K, but also work on the Legends Ultimate. And I said, you got to go with, who's the company that's always been working with them, that works with Arcade1Up too? Man, I can't believe I can't remember this off the top of my head. Loudest keyboard. I can't remember their name. Does anybody know what's that company that Arcade1Up? They also did the Arcade1Up Star Wars cab. Code Mystics. Thank you very much, Mystery Encoder. And Angelo, Garage Gamer, I appreciate it. Couldn't remember it off the top of my head. So I told them, you got to work with Code Mystics. They're the Killer Instinct, czars. They're the only ones that'll really do it right. So hopefully that's the direction they go in. I don't know if they will, who they're using, but if they just use it off MAME, hopefully, obviously it's going to be a commercial version of MAME. I don't know how Killer Instinct runs on MAME, but yeah, so hopefully it works good. I don't know. Jason, I would, but the thing is, Glenn is never going to go with a licensed product. I've already talked to Glenn about that, and I say, is there any possibility of doing something licensed? He's just not doing it. It's always just going to be an open multicade with the GRS Viper in there so you can bring your own games. It's not going to be that. But otherwise, I would include them, but there's no place for them here, because we're not talking about multicade products. What we're talking about is, these dedicated multicades, what Arcade1Up makes, not so much just a generic multicade, right? Yes, I know. That's why Code Mystics are the only people to be trusted when it comes to Killer Instinct emulation. Only Code Mystics should touch it. Hopefully that's the direction AtGames went in. And I don't know if it will. I have no idea. I'm not familiar with that. I know that my Kinhank device has Killer Instinct on it, the arcade ROMs, and it works well, but it's also running through a pretty beefy PC, so yeah. I got to bring this comment up for my buddy James Hates Everything. Exhibitionist mode is what Michael B wants. Freudian slip. You're right, man. Spectate. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Garage Gamer. That's what I meant. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about tonight. And I made a very ugly thumbnail to describe this fully, to take a look at Arcade1Up and their history and the companies seemingly they don't really work with anymore that might be open for the other companies to get a hold of. Dumb poll, Mr. B. Explain to me why, Goofyfoot. Tell me why. Ain't nothing but a heartache. Now tell me why. If anybody didn't turn off the show, they're going to turn it off now. Sand Spirit says, I'm just talking about, I'm happy we're not talking about pinball. Every now and then we do an arcade show. Anyways, a couple things I just want to get out of the way before we get into the full topic, but I wanted to share this. So I did a video there on Saturday talking about the best Arcade1Up Black Friday sales. I'm glad I didn't say Black Friday and Cyber Monday like I intended, because they actually did come out with some new sales. So I just really quickly want to tell you guys about this. So we already had the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 X-Men 97 on sale, and we had the NBA Jam. The NBA Jam has actually gone back up in price, or is this the same price it was? But here's the exciting new ones. Apparently the Galaga, or maybe that's the class of 81 they were showing. Anyways, Golden Tee is also 50 15% off, so you can save a couple bucks on Golden Tee Deluxe. And the new Arcade1Up photo booth is also 25% off. So if you were looking to pick up one of these new Arcade1Up photo booths, no longer branded with, what's the name of the company? I can't remember now. Polaroid, no longer branded with Polaroid. You can pick one up, 25% off now. Let's talk about the ALP 4K not being 4K. The machine, the goddamn machine is 4K. Some of the games aren't. Pub table $2.99 at Best Buy, not bad. So that's that. I do have to mention I also made a pretty big mistake in that video, so I'm just gonna bring this up here just 1 second, friends. So I did a video yesterday and I talked about this SSF sale, saying that it was $2.99 and you could apply that $100 off coupon to the $2.99 and get it for $1.99. Now, Jason was kind enough to tell me he reached out to PK personally and told PK that I had mentioned this sale. Apparently, those coupons are not allowed to be used with other sale items. Like, to me, I think that would be an amazing offer if you could do the $1.99. They would have sold tons of them and tons of AtGames Legends Pinball 4Ks during their sales. But apparently this $100 off coupon, which I should have known, doesn't apply to this. So the bottom price for the SSF kit is $2.99. Sorry for the mistake, guys. I did put a note on my video in the comments, pinned comments, saying that same thing. It wasn't something you could use. I wish it was. I mean, that would have been an awesome sale. They don't really lose anything from it. They're already doing it $100 off, but you unfortunately can't use the $100 off coupon for the sale price SSF kit. So that kind of sucks, but you know, I do want to correct that. Sorry if anybody went there trying to get that deal and I led you astray. I didn't know, now I know. So there you go. The best deal was the deal that didn't exist. I know. But there is a little bit of good news, guys, and this is mostly for us Canadians. But one of the Black Friday deals I mentioned for the best Black Friday deal was at Best Buy on the AtGames Legends Ultimate new CHD, I think it's called, the AtGames Legends Ultimate 1.3 as I'm calling it. But you remember for a while there they had the Legends Ultimate on sale, $100 off for $7.99. They actually dropped the price another $100. It's down to $6.99 right now, Canadian. I don't know what the calculation to US is, probably like 40 bucks, because the Canadian dollar is absolute trash right now. But you can go pick up a Legends Ultimate from Best Buy for $6.99. If anybody ordered one from the Brick for their $7.99 price point, I would call them up and see if they can price match. Otherwise, cancel your order. Go back and get one from Best Buy. I love the Brick, but I mean, it's $100. Go save your $100. So yeah, this is the reason I wanted to bring this up also, because it gets back into the topic. So we're talking about Arcade1Up and licenses they no longer work with. So obviously Rare is there front and center with Battletoads, but there's another one that disappeared from AtGames devices and strangely has come back up on AtGames devices recently, which under John D's strict governance of the way licensing worked with Arcade1Up, he basically had a no exclusivity rule, basically. I tripped over my words trying to say it, but the way it worked was John D would work with any company provided they didn't work with any of the competition. It's cutthroat. I don't know why he did things like that, but that was his rule with Arcade1Up. So for a while there, Atari moved away from working with AtGames for John D's rule or whatever it was. They were exclusive to Arcade1Up. You can clearly see that Atari is back on this cabinet. I'm going to scroll in again. Oh, too far. But you can see they're back. Asteroids, Missile Command, Pong. They're right there on the headers. So that's another crack in the foundation with Arcade1Up. Atari, that previously only worked with Arcade1Up for a little while there, now back with AtGames. Yeah, Jason, you're not wrong, man. You're not wrong. Anyways, Canadians, $6.99. So let's get back now to the PD7 got back in Best Buy. PD7's on a roll, man. Very proud of my friend Phil. See his videos come up in my feed all the time. I check him out when I'm having my breakfast usually. I don't get a chance to watch them all, but I saw his videos pop up. His Black Friday stuff has been blowing up. He's getting like 10 and 20,000 views on his videos. Congratulations, PD7. Good guy. Glad to see him successful. That's awesome, man. So anyways, back to the main topic. The big thing I wanted to talk about tonight is, of course, Arcade1Up. So we'll go back to the Arcade1Up site for a minute, and we'll take a look at their current cabs that they have, shop all arcades, and look at who they're working with. So really quickly, you can get a look at who Arcade1Up is currently working with. You've got Marvel, Disney here, even though it says Capcom there. To my understanding, Capcom may not be working with Arcade1Up going forward, but we had an X-Men 97 cab that might have fulfilled their contractual obligation. I jumped ahead here because I do have to say that. From what I understand with Arcade1Up, they have contractual obligations with these companies that they have to produce one of their cabs per year to provide continued returns on the licensing agreement, or they're in danger of losing that license. So the reason why I'm looking at this is I want to look at the companies it looks like they're still working with. So Disney, definitely, because I remember Cyrus told me it was Disney, Marvel, who wanted the X-Men 97 skins. So you've got that, possibly Capcom, but obviously Evercade shows a different picture on that. You've got what could be considered to be Midway right here with NBA Jam, but I think this is more the NBA itself, the NBA license. Then you've got Incredible Technologies with Golden Tee, Namco with Pac-Man. Of course, Namco's a big partner. You've got Williams Midway, which also ties into NBA Jam up there. You've also got Namco again, and that seems to be it, although they still got some of those Street Fighter 2 Deluxe there, but... And then on the other side, yeah, right now it looks like the only companies they're working with are Disney, Capcom, NBA, Marvel, Incredible Technologies, Namco, and then Williams again, and Williams is Warner Brothers. So it seems like right now they've got like 3 to 4 major licenses they've still got. And you can let me know in the comments, do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think that it's a different story, that they've still got other titles? But I'm looking at this, looking at the way it was explained to me that their licensing works. They have to make 1 cab per year in order to hold on to the license. And yeah, I mean, that's all I see here. I see Disney, Capcom, NBA, Williams or WB, Incredible Technologies, Namco, of course, Namco's their biggest partner. And then this again is Warner Brothers. So yeah, 4 partners. I would like to see them work with Taito. Taito's an interesting one. Arcade1Up only worked with Taito once when they did the Space Invaders cab and the Space Invaders line. Space Invaders did horribly at retail, didn't come to Canada. I'm going to hold it accountable for that, but it didn't do very well. At one point, they were selling them at Walmart for $1 on clearance with a copy of Star Wars Battlefront 2. I can't make this up. $1 you could get a Arcade1Up Space Invaders cab and Star Wars Battlefront 2. But what happened there was very soon after that, we know that Taito went and worked with AtGames. Obviously, we got the Taito pinball games and all that stuff. All the Taito games showed up on the AtGames ecosystem. But Taito were also very open to working with iArcade. And at the time, John D had the rule, you're going to go sell your stuff to them. We're not going to work with you. So whatever happened there, looks like that's the reason why Taito isn't in the picture. So Taito's one that I would say has always been out there. Of the lists that you see on my thumbnail, that's one that's always been out there. That's always one that's been open to working with other companies. Another one, even though they went and worked with other companies and they're really cheap to get, is Gmode. So you might not know Gmode, but Gmode is in fact Data East. Data East is pretty much the easiest company to get. I remember having a conversation with John one time after we did one of his shows. And I said, John, like, if you want to get classic arcade games and, you want to appease fans asking for that, and I know it's hard to work around Arcade1Up's licenses and it's costly, why don't you go talk to Gmode? Like, they will literally sell their games to anybody, and cheap. And sure enough, like a week later, he was like, I got burger time. So Gmode, obviously, that's on the AtGames systems, and obviously it was on iArcade as well. It's on MyArcade. It's on everything. Gmode will literally sell their games to anybody. Me and 19K Fox could start a company tomorrow making arcades out of toilets, and you can bet your ass Bad Dudes Burger Time will be on there. Maybe not Karate Champ. There we go. But yeah, I think some of you guys want to ask about like the bigger titles, and that's what we've been talking about. They've been purging listings of a ton of products on the Arcade1Up website, Sega, Konami, etc. And this is where it gets interesting. And this is not, before anybody starts in on this, it's not an Arcade1Up hate video. I hope I'm completely wrong, and I hope, the hope is Arcade1Up is back and successful at CES. They come out with a bunch of new games, new XLs, and they surprise us. If not, I don't really care what name is on the cabinet. I just want good products. So whether it's Basic Fun, whether it's Media 1-Up, whether it's New Wave Toys, whether it's somebody else, I just want to see new products and new games. So that's what this whole conversation is about. Jaleco's an interesting one. Oh, I'm missing something. Bring Cyrus on. I would love to have Cyrus come back out and talk to the community. I don't know. I don't know if Arcade1Up will do anything community related till they have something new to talk about. I don't think anybody will get in touch with them until CES and they've got new products. Maybe they'll do something. Well, they hate Arcade1Up. I'm not. I'm just stating the way things look. So going back to Atari, we had the rumors on the listings of Atari going with Basic Fun. So some of the stuff I've been told by people behind the scenes is, one, Atari is in a position right now where they're not happy with their contract negotiations with Arcade1Up. They went into new contract negotiations. Arcade1Up obviously doesn't have the selling power they used to, so they can't offer the same returns they've offered in previous years. So Atari kind of balked at the idea and decided we're going to look for other options. That's where obviously AtGames came in. They licensed their games to AtGames, and that's where the Basic Fun one came in. What I was told was Atari was basically using Basic Fun and developing a potential cab with Basic Fun to use them against their negotiations with Arcade1Up. Now, whatever came of it, I don't know, but like Jason Little Alien said, there's no Atari references at all on the Arcade1Up website anymore. It's almost like they've separated terms. The other thing that's interesting about that, we get back to that contractual agreement thing. When I was first told about the Golden Tee Frankenstein XL at Costco, I was told the concept was Golden Tee Atari. So the idea was, especially where it already had the trackball, you were also going to be able to play some of the Atari trackball games like Centipede and games like Millipede. It would probably be a half Golden Tee, half Centipede cab. That was the concept they wanted to bring through. So when it was actually brought to my attention that it was going to be Golden Combat, as we joked around about, it was going to be Incredible Technologies partnering with Midway, or Warner Brothers, which is the parent company, I was really, really confused about that. So that's another one. Another one is Sega. Jason, you're helping me out here, making me. So the Atari 50th cab is gone. Yeah, it looks like pretty much all the stock of that is gone. Never coming to Canada. Whatever's out there now, that's done. Well, I guess my 1-ups are priceless now. I don't know about that. So, want to go back and talk about Sega. Sega's a really interesting one. Sega was one of the big surprises for me with Arcade1Up. I'll never forget watching that CES video with Justin and Retro Ralph, and they walked by the Golden Axe cab, and I said, holy shit, I have to have this in my life. That looks like the best Arcade1Up product I've ever seen. And for me, it was right up there with, at the time, the Final Fight cab with the games list and how cool it could be. And that was the first Sega license that came out. Eventually, after that, we also got Outrun. Was there any other Sega? Was it just the two Sega cabs? I think it was. I think it was just Golden Axe and just Outrun. So there's a lot to this story about Sega and Arcade1Up. It's been a while since we've seen anything from them. I know people are clamoring for a Golden Axe Deluxe cab. I know Danny Cornercade went out and made one. I don't know if we're ever going to get another Sega Arcade1Up cab. There's a couple of reasons why. One is at the time when Arcade1Up was doing their Sega licenses, iArcade also approached Sega. And if you believe the stories that have been told, this information came from John D., so take it with a grain of salt. Apparently, iArcade absolutely unloaded the dump truck, took all that Kickstarter money, gave it all to Sega, and paid, six figures. What I'm told is like $500,000 for a couple Sega licenses. And what they did at that point was they set a benchmark for what Sega could expect to receive in this bracket for their licenses in arcade. So after that, it was very hard for Arcade1Up, even though they're the industry leader at the time. They were the ones really setting the prices. They could outbid other people. They could outpromise other people. But they couldn't do it here because what iArcade paid was a point that was unattainable for Arcade1Up. So that's why Arcade1Up kind of stopped working with Sega. Now there's other issues with Sega as well. Will we ever see another Sega, arcade cabinet from one of these home arcade companies? Not 100% sure, because Sega are doing a whole lot of rebranding themselves right now. They're already skeptical about doing things through third-party companies, which we already know about. Like, if you go back, look at the Arcade1Up cabs they released, they didn't have their branding on those cabs. And another story that came from John D. was after their relationship with AtGames for the Sega Genesis Flashback, they decided they no longer wanted their branding on anything made by a third party. Only time their branding would go on anything is a first-party product. So they've already pulled back from working with other people. Yeah, Mystery Encoder, thank you for coming back and giving me some confirmation on this. $500K for Sega is what I heard iArcade paid like idiots. Now, there were some good games like Shadow Dancer, which is like the official Shinobi sequel. And there was also, what's the running shooter game? Why can't I remember it now? Space Harrier. Then there were some stinkers on there as well, but yeah, there you go. They could cash in on the Jurassic Park hype. Isn't that Raw Thrills? So they had Raw Thrills, and they were working with them, but they didn't release a game with Raw Thrills last year. The year before, they did Fast and the Furious, but I don't know if they still have Raw Thrills in the bank, so there you go. That is one of the many reasons iArcade is no more. I can't answer you the questions on that. I never really had like a good connection with iArcade in that capacity. Like, I've had opportunities to talk with John, and he was nice to me and stuff like that. And I talked to Michael Zvrabek, but business decisions I never talked to him about. Like, some of the games they brought there, I'm like, what are you doing, guys? And maybe they didn't have any choice, but if they had some good people advising in them early on, they had, someone consulting with them, they could have avoided a lot of mistakes. Like, there's a bunch of money they spent on stuff that I would be 100% sure was absolute bombs and just killed them. Escape from Popo is a big sausage or banger. Another thing about iArcade that was a little bit frustrating was there was... And I hate this because people always think that, like, even back in the day, like, I'm an Arcade1Up fan or an Arcade1Up tribalist. No, man, I like everything, like, literally everything. I don't give a shit what it's on. But there were some people in the community that were, like, super tribalists, like, defend iArcade to death, like, and it was really off-putting. Like, it made you not want to be part of that community. So, like, that didn't help either. I will be honest about that. How much did they spend on Beersis? Too much. Apparently it was a free game. I have no idea. Anyways, so that's the Sega story. So will anybody work with Sega in the future? I'm not sure. Technos is another one that's really, really, really friggin' interesting. So Technos is critical for any of these arcade companies if they want to do specific licenses. Obviously, we know Technos from the Double Dragon games, and we know what happened there. iArcade was able to secure the Double Dragon games. For a while, they ended up losing the license, which is normal. You can only hold a license for a couple years unless you renegotiate it, so they lost that license. But Arcade1Up was also going to do a Double Dragon 2 cab. We saw that. One of the demo cabs displayed, from what I'm told from people here in retail, it was also shopped at retail. The Double Dragon 2 prototype we saw was shopped at retail. Like, a lot of us in the community are like, God damn, I would have bought that. What a cool cab. I would have loved a Double Dragon cab. Yes, I did mention Outrun was Sega, Mystery Encoder. Outrun and Golden Axe were the only 2 Sega cabs. So, going back to Double Dragon, I always thought the reason we never got the Double Dragon cab was because they showed it to retailers and retailers didn't want it. That was the mindset I was given until a little while ago when I was talking to John D, and John D said he 86'd it. He 86'd it as part of that, policy that if you're going to work with other companies, your games are going to be on other systems, we're not going to do it. So from what I understand, I thought that was much later in the process, but it appears Double Dragon, we don't know how long it takes to get these up off the ground. Double Dragon was probably in talks with Arcade1Up and a prototype made before iArcade even came out, and that's the reason it got dropped down. Bono's Tecmo over Technos. Yes, Mystery Encoder, yes. Hey, what's up? RTX Pinball, good to see you. Yeah, for me, like, I would love the original Double Dragon, but the original Double Dragon is one of those hard ones. And I know you guys love my Newfoundland accent when I drop a harder. So, anyone seeing illegal loans next to the live icon on stream? I can't control what else goes up there. But it's funny, illegal loans. Anyways, Double Dragon obviously is a big one. But the other thing about Technos that a lot of people obviously know but probably don't know is one of the things Arcade1Up talked about doing, at least John D talked about doing with Arcade1Up before he ended up leaving the company, was he really wanted to make a WrestleFest Superstars cab. Like, obviously, it wasn't going to be perfect because that's a licensing nightmare with so many issues with wrestlers that are no longer with the company, not under Legends contracts, and then wrestlers with the company that the company would never work with again. That's lightened up a bit now with Vince McMahon out the door, so it's possible they could do some of that shit they never did before because the business model is completely changed. You don't have this crazy billionaire making radical calls based on opinion. Now you've got business people actually running the business, and if you bring them enough money, they'll be like, yeah, sure, we'll work with Demolition. Yeah, sure, we'll work with the Legion of Doom. Before, Vince McMahon was like, no, they're excommunicado, but now they can possibly do something like that. So there's hope for a WrestleFest again for somebody to do it. But in order to get WrestleFest, you have to get the WWF license and figure out all those hoops. But you also have to get Technos, because Technos are the ones that did Superstars and WrestleFest. So the dream of a WrestleFest cab goes through Technos. So Technos is another one. It's out there. The only home arcade company that I know they've worked with in the larger scale so far has been iArcade. So that's another one that's out there for the getting. And I think that can be got. I mean, if iArcade secured them, God only knows how much they paid. But if iArcade secured them, Arc System Works, I'm sure other people can as well. Robert Gannon, the topic here, thank you for bringing that up. So for people joining late, I'll bring it up again why I'm talking about this today. Yes, Media 1UP LLC, your ears were burning. I was just about to bring it up. I love wrestling. It's amazing how much my love of wrestling has returned in the last couple of years. Like, I even ordered the WWE 2K24 the other day because it was like $30 Canadian on Amazon. But I'm really enjoying wrestling on all fronts. WWF, WWE has gotten a lot better. I still can't watch the weekly shows, like, because of 3 hours and for the fact that I canceled my cable. But like their pay-per-views and following along the storylines in the background and stuff, A1, it's gotten a lot better. AEW, it's still really good wrestling, but man, oh man, Tony Khan makes some interesting booking decisions. He's booking himself to death. They need somebody else there to give him some guidance because what he's doing is not good. You got all the talent in the world, you got a cool concept, and it's just going flat, man. Wow. It won't, Bill. It won't, because there's new leadership at WWE. The only problem with WrestleFest was the fact that Demolition, obviously concussion lawsuit, WWF wouldn't work with them. Legion of Doom, there's issues there, but now you can get them on, here we go. So anyways, guys, that's Technos. Let's talk about some of the other licenses. Capcom's an interesting one. So Capcom, longtime partner with Arcade1Up, we know that John D has been a big proponent for bringing Capcom in. That's how the relationship with John D and Arcade1Up initially started. He is in the chat, so his ears can burn again. So John D brought in Capcom and then ended up working with Arcade1Up. And Capcom has been a big staple for Arcade1Up over the years. I mean, obviously, year one we got Street Fighter Champion Edition, Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition. Year two we got Final Fight. And since then, we've just got a new version of Street Fighter all the time with different Capcom games. And also, they brought in the Marvel vs. Capcom series as well. But Capcom have been unfaithful already. Capcom have already worked with another company in the home arcade space, albeit a little bit different, and that is Evercade with the Alpha. So Capcom have already kind of cheated on Arcade1Up by putting their games on the Alpha. Of course, they're not on cartridges, and I don't know how their relationship with Arcade1Up works, but they're physically on another arcade cabinet. So obviously we have Media 1UP coming up in the next little while. John D is touting that he possibly has some kind of Arcade1Up product. It's pretty easy to assume that with John D's relationship with Capcom, Capcom possibly not being contractually obligated to Arcade1Up, that they could work together, or John, through his role as a consultant, because he's going to work with other companies, could help another company secure Capcom. That's out there, possibly. I gotta take that one down. Cornercade, always trying to sell himself. But see, that's the interesting thing. I don't consider the Evercade really the same thing as Arcade1Up at all. It wasn't until they made a Countercade. That's a direct competition, not really in the 3/4 or larger scale home arcade market. We never know if Evercade's ever going to do anything else arcade related. But on the Countercade side, they certainly came out swinging. If you remember the original Evercade Alpha commercial, I mean, they literally showed an Arcade1Up Countercade and said, out with the garbage, and then the Alpha hit it. And that was a direct attack against Arcade1Up. You can't say it's not. So, yeah, I'll just throw that out there. I think that Evercade's main focus will never really be on arcades, so I don't really put them as the top on the competitor list. But that's why I didn't include them in the poll that we've got up. And as you can see from the poll, we're at 143 votes. The poll went up an hour ago. Right now, the potential competitor who will have the most luck stealing licenses away from Arcade1Up, no surprise, it's their former licensing guy, the guy that got them 95% of those licenses, John D and Media 1UP. Coming in second is AtGames at 36%, obviously just because of their longevity in the community and what they're doing. Basic Fun only 3%. I'm surprised, guys. I think if Basic Fun get this Atari cab off the ground, and if it's good, that number will jump up. That name will become more synonymous in the space. And then New Wave Toys at 12%, which I'm surprised is not higher, which we'll get into that. Exclusivity no longer exists. That's what I wanted to hear. Chaotic BPR, good to see you, my man. Always good to see you. Josh Dendy, it's me. It's DDP. I mean, Michael B. Exclusivity no longer exists. And that's the important thing, because that means anybody can work with anything. I will tell you one thing that was not on this list, because it's pinball, so it's not really arcade related, and we are specifically talking about arcades tonight, was when AtGames started working with Zen Studios. I remember talking to Arcade1Up at the time, because I was still doing some media stuff with them. Why isn't my arcade in your poll? You know damn well why, Jamie Locken. Anyways, I got off track here because of Jamie Locken. Big B says John ain't doing shit. Well, the proof's in the pudding, man. He might not do anything. Right now, it's all just vapor, rumors, and stuff like that. He'll show up at CES and then put something down. Judge him on that. I love the Evercade Alpha. Like I've always been, predominantly a Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition guy. Like if I'm going to play Street Fighter 2 or if I'm going to play any version of Street Fighter, that's my go-to. That's the one I enjoy the most. That's the one I have the most nostalgia for. And then it's actually Super Street Fighter after that. Not even Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. But I will tell you ever since I got the Evercade Alpha, I've been really playing through the Alpha games a lot more, and I friggin' like them, man. I love the art style. I love the way the combat works. I'm really starting to become a big fan of the Alpha series. I never thought so, but here we go. I'm not saying that my arcade doesn't deserve their props, but guys, like, they're not even in this conversation. Not until they make something that's not a plastic desktop $50 piece of equipment. Big Nothing Burger sounds like something I need to put on the menu here. Man, I haven't been eating as many burgers recently. I haven't had Johnny Amaze now in about 3 months. I've been cutting it out, and it's killing me. I don't think he does. I don't think he does. So, where was I? You guys threw me off here. Where was I? Damn it. Warner Brothers is an interesting one. So obviously Arcade1Up has a pretty good relationship now with Warner Brothers. They've been working with them the last couple of years. They met their obligation this year maybe by coming out with that Midway Golden T-Cab through Costco, which apparently sold pretty well. So we'll see what the future lies for Warner Brothers. Obviously, here's the crazy thing about all this. Like, and some truth, going back to John D's comment about the whole there's no more exclusivity. Just really quick. In 19K Fox absence, remember to buy Unico products. Unico good. We're going to talk about Unico next week, actually, Kevin Clausen. Thank you very much for the super chat, my man. Greatly appreciated. Who has Star Wars license now? Well, NASA, I'm glad you mentioned that. That actually is a really interesting topic, and thank you very much for the $5 super chat. Nobody's going to take another year of speculation videos. Well, I hope you don't think this is a speculation video. We're going through the facts, and we're talking about what Arcade1Up's doing and the companies they previously work with. We know they have licensing agreements where they have to make a cab by that company every year to provide the returns they expect. So if they're not working with them, they could be out there in the ether space. Yeah, because that's happening. I will tell you, going back to that, where's that comment? I can't take another year of... I agree with you. 2025 is do or die. If someone doesn't come out with new products, I saw someone else say this earlier. If someone doesn't come out with new products, this whole community is just going to die. Like, literally, I think that there'll still be interest in multicades and stuff like that, but arcade recreations of a large scale, yeah, like, we've been on fumes for the last 2 years, so unless something happens from one of these companies next year, interest could completely go. I think people like me will still enjoy what you have, like you still got your arcade and stuff like that, but there's a large percentage of people, they don't follow something and they don't enjoy something unless that company or that trend is constantly putting out new products for them to enjoy. So I think some people will just lose interest in it, and not just lose interest in watching like YouTube videos and learning about the products, but also lose interest in their own products that are downstairs. Anyways, going back to this is an interesting one because two people own the Star Wars license when it comes to making it depends on what Star Wars you're talking about. So the Star Wars that we've already got from Arcade1Up is obviously the Atari Star Wars. In order for someone to make that, and John D is here in the chat, he could correct me on this, you have to get Disney on board, which, to my understanding, is still working with Arcade1Up because they did the Marvel versus Capcom last year, so they're still involved with Marvel. But the other side of that equation is Atari. So if Atari doesn't play ball, but you have Disney, you can't do it. You need both people. So you need Disney and Atari in order to make another Star Wars cab. That's why I'm not, holding my breath waiting for a new Star Wars cab to come out. Josh, right now, no one has Sega. We don't know what's happening with Sega. We covered it a little bit earlier. We talked about iArcade massively overspending on their Sega license and setting a precedent for licensing their games in this retail space that just hasn't been met since. And especially with companies no longer being able to offer like the big paydays Arcade1Up originally did when they came into the market. I just think Sega has been like, nah, that's okay. We'll just do our own thing. If you're not going to pay us our asking price, we're just not going to work with anybody. So nobody has Sega right now. That's what we know. This is funny. Where is this? I don't want to miss this. There it is. Star Wars needs Disney, Atari, Lucasfilm Limited, and Warner Chappell. So it's actually 4, not 2, 4. Yeah, there's also a Sega Star Wars trilogy as well, and I would think that with that list, you need Disney, Sega, Lucasfilm, and Warner Chappell. Yeah, I could be wrong. Not from Arcade1Up. I would severely doubt it unless they repair their relationship with Atari, unless they can get that back on track and they can get the other people on board. They still have some kind of relationship with Disney, from what we understand, but it's probably never going to happen. Pick 6 equals Cheesy Monday. Charlie Chuck, good to see you, my man. Hope you're doing okay, brother. I love that new thumbnail. It's not like that anyone gets a license for the right money, but you got to pay the money. And that's the thing. Like, it's like we talked about Glenn earlier. Like, I talked about Glenn about Arcade Recreations, and he's like, I'm a small company. I can't do that. Most people can't. Like, you're talking big money, big guaranteed returns. Like, I've never done one of these contracts, but from my understanding, like, say, for example, I'm Arcade1Up. I'm going to make 3,000 units per year of your title, or 10,000 units, whatever it is. You're probably guaranteeing whatever their cut is for the game, upwards of, $200,000 total revenue guaranteed based on your desired sales. I don't know what else I can say on that. Someone can correct me on that. That's the way their contracts works, but yeah. Houston Amusements, I'm back, freshly divorced. Anything change? Congratulations on your divorce, or sorry for your divorce, whichever way it went. What's changed is Arcade1Up no longer have exclusivity on their contracts, so we've got new companies that are possibly entering this space, and now they can pick and choose which companies they want to work with, provided they have the money. Hey, Nicholas, so good to see you, my man. How's the pinball world treating you, brother? I haven't been following lately. Have you picked up any new pinball machines? So Big B73, again with Media 1UP. I don't think we're going to know anything until CES. He's going to be at CES. Whatever they got, we'll find out there. Well, I think Stock Jock, we've already talked about this offline. In order to get a Robotron 2084 done correctly, I think we're going to have to do some off the books work there. I think we're going to have to work with somebody personally. And like I'm looking at options to get my own CNC cut Robotron machine and then building it myself. You bought a Godzilla 70th, you madman! Godzilla is such an amazing game. Hope you enjoy it. I prefer just original Godzilla, but that black and white does look cool too. I was at Pinball Expo the last little while, and I'm telling you right now, I was all in on Stranger Things. I was all in on Elvira. Still love both those games, but the more I played Jaws, the more I fell in love with Jaws. So I think over the course of the next year, provided we're on the same path we're on right now, where nobody's coming out with any really cool cabs, I'm going to be putting my pennies away to try to get a Jaws next. Or if Stranger Things or Elvira is still available by the time I get the money together, one of those. We'll see. But I'm really looking at Jaws. Jamie, give it up. My arcade's never going to do House of the Dead. Yeah, but see, the thing is, nobody's going to do a Robotron cab. Anybody that does Robotron gets that Williams license and makes like a dedicated multi-cab. It's going to be Smash TV, and it's going to not have, the correct arcade control. So if you want like a Robotron replica, like that's exactly like Robotron with no concessions, you're going to have to build your own. That's the way I look at it. Oh, Jaws is so good. Elton John was fun too. I gotta say, that's probably my favorite shooting Jersey Jack pinball table, 100%. I will tell you, I did hear from Iconic Arcade, one of their media people, after I made the video talking about how it's now at the $2.99. Stock Jock just unsubbed. I'm sorry, Stock Jock. Why Iconic Arcade wasn't in the poll, someone from Iconic Arcade actually reached out to me after I made the video about $2.99 saying, guys, it's a $2.99 multicade. I mean, you'd be nuts not to pick it up for $299 Canadian. I mean, the price was crazy. On top of that, I got confirmation this weekend. It works with Sinden right out of the box. You don't got to do any assing around at all. You're running Sinden right on the machine, so you can buy it as a shooter cab. I'm actually thinking about it now. I might even buy an Iconic Arcade. I don't need another multicade, but for a shooter, I got to talk to Retro Lizard first and see if I'm going to get one of his shooter boxes. If I don't do that, I might end up getting a Iconic Arcade just to play gun games. It's crazy. Oh, I hope that's not the case, Big B73. My fingers are crossed that Arcade1Up's going to bounce back. I don't want anybody to fail. I'd love to see Arcade1Up bounce back, do some cool shit. I want to see other companies like Basic Fun, if this Atari cab is real, if it's happening, them to show up at CES, announce their Atari, which I think is Centipede cab, for Media1Up to go there, announce whatever they're releasing, for that to be badass. I want everybody to succeed. I want there to be lots of options so we can buy more cool stuff. It's been so frustrating, man. There's not a lot to get excited about, right? Yeah, that Rob, see, from what I understand, I think Arcade1Up are still making new versions of the Arcade1Up Deluxe cabs, of the Namco ones and the Mortal Kombat ones. Street Fighter, I think that's new old stock if you bought that, but from what I understand, there's new versions of these Mortal Kombat, Class of 81, and Pac-Man cabs constantly going to be made. I think this is going to be an evergreen product where it's not kind of exclusive like Arcade1Up's been in the past, where they do one run of 3,000 to 5,000 and then they're done. I think they're just going to keep making more of those. I don't know. Yeah, check out Retrolism's Custom Arcades. He makes amazing stuff. He's reached out to me like 1,000 times, tried to get me to get one of his, gun boxes or emulation boxes. So I'm going to do something with him, 100%. Yeah, so Dre, for your Atari love, what I was told was Basic Fun, 3/4 or bigger Centipede. So if that was it, I would be all about that. What? I'm blown away by the Lenovo Legion Go handheld Windows PC. My wife is amazing. What happened? Did you get a new handheld? I'm all about handhelds lately. I've been playing a ton of my PS Portal lately, so I obviously picked up Dragon Quest III, and I'm grinding away at that. I've got 5 of the orbs, and I'm at the part right now where I got to take on the guy at the volcano, and he's just beating the shit out of me. So I got to build up. And what I've been doing is, like, when I'm home in the daytime and like I get a couple minutes from work and I'm watching the kiddo, I'll just pop on my PS Portal and play that. And I also figured out what was going on with my internet, why I was getting a bad signal. So that's been crazy. I've got also the Steam Deck, and I've been looking at the ROG Ally for a long time, considering picking up one of those. But then they came up with the ROG Ally X, and now I don't want the ROG Ally. I want the X. Yes, Jim the Pacers fan wrote me about this, and if this is true, then maybe Capcom is still working with Arcade1Up, because they would have to be in order for them to make new product. So Jim wrote me, and he actually said there's a bunch of Arcade1Up stuff coming to Canada from the port data, and he's saying he also saw Spreetail receiving a container of Street Fighter V Deluxe HS5 from Arcade1Up. Interesting. Hey, congratulations, Chaotic. That's awesome, man. My wife has hooked me up for Christmas as well. My Christmas is going to be very different this year. I know what I'm getting already, but like I got Ys 10 Nordics coming. I've got Silent Hill. I've got, what else? Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth and Visions of Mana. So my wife grabbed all of those for me from the Black Friday deals. That's what I'm getting for Christmas. Yeah. Playing Aliens Extermination vs. Techno Parrot on my shooter cab. Nice, Nooner. That's an awesome one. Yeah, guys, so, I mean, the thing is, we don't know what's going to happen in the future with Arcade1Up, and right now they've been the only people that are making these arcade recreations or dedicated multi-cabinets for the last little while. So it's hopeful to see other people enter the space and to know that there's a possibility of these people entering the space and they're not going to have to get bargain basement licenses. We've seen this play out with the iArcade. When the iArcade goes to get its licenses, they bring back stuff like Bearsis and sometimes absolute crap. Of course, every now and then a gem leak through. We got Burger Time. We got, even though it's not a high-end gem, we got Warrior Blade, which I really liked. We got Moon Patrol. We got shit like that. But obviously, overall, the library was never what it should be. So the concept of somebody else coming in, you always had to deal with that juggernaut of Arcade1Up having all the, AAA arcade games, if you want to call them that. Anybody else coming up would have to take, I don't know what it's called, the dregs, and work with that. Now we're in a space where Arcade1Up no longer wields that power. They no longer have that ability to control who gets what and to run the entire space. We've got new companies coming up. There's possibility they can make cool games. There's hope. It might just be speculation hope right now. Maybe this is one of those streams where people are guessing about things, but my God, at least we're excited. At least there's something to talk about. At least there's hope. That's all I want. Competition is a good thing. Collaboration is even better. Who knows? Who knows? John D might even still work with Arcade1Up in a consulting capacity, helping them get licenses. Nobody really knows. Okay, so I'm trying to be nice to every company now, but Jamie, I gotta tell you, Arcade1Up. You assume Arcade1Up are gonna spend their time and money doing things that make sense, right? Just give me a goddamn minute here. Oh. You make a rational comment like, you got to think if they're going to spend money and go to CES, they've got something sensible to do, right? Let me play you something here now. So if anybody follows Arcade1Up on Instagram, get a load of this shit. Yeah, this is what they're doing at their office. They're spending their time very valuably. They really understand the target demographic of the people buying their cabs. Completely get it. They know exactly who they're selling to by showing us Sex in the City, a moving van, a U-Haul, and then this random girls that are, 16 years old seeing these arcade cabinets come out. It gets guys like me, that are 44, guys like Stock Jock that are even older. How many people in this community are even remotely close to being 16 or 18? I'm not saying they're not out there, but completely out of touch with who's buying their products. So you assume that if they're going to CES and spending money, they've got something doing. I'm not always going to say that. I don't know if that's 100% true. There you go. Media 1UP LLC is going to be at CES January 7th to 10th. You got to assume if they're going, they've got something to show. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. What the hell is this? Like, literally, what the hell is this? Like, who are they marketing to? The girls are pretty. That's true, Stock Jock. I can't say they're not. That's one way they might know us. We do like pretty girls. I will go back to that ad for that beautiful girl that was in the claw machine ad. I agree with that. This ad is 100% real. This is exactly what Arcade1Up spend their time doing on Instagram. 100%. Some do. I got to be honest with you. You guys may know I like good-looking women, and a lot of times I follow these Instagram models on Instagram, and every now and then these streamers, especially the Instagram models that also do the game streaming, because there's lots of money in that for them, they'll do their game streaming, and lo and behold, they've got Arcade1Ups in the background. So as much as I shit on this, I can't not say there isn't a small market. Yeah. The music playing is Usher. Their Instagram must be shit posts. Yeah. All right, guys. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover tonight. There was one other thing I just wanted to talk to you about really quickly. It's super off topic, but I did want to bring it up. I was watching P-Dubs, and P-Dubs did bring up the gameplay they showed tonight from AtGames for the Sea of Thieves trailer, and he said he recorded it off a computer screen. I actually got the hard image, so I wanted to show you that. So 1 second. Let's talk about the gameplay really quickly for Sea of Thieves. Here's the actual recorded video from AtGames. They sent it along. So nothing impacting. This is playing directly off my PC. So there's a look at the skeleton. I know nothing about this game. I've never played Sea of Thieves a day in my life, even though I have a Game Pass subscription. People are being really critical so far on the gameplay. I'm going to just leave this playing. I'll bring it up a little bit differently in a minute. They're saying, oh my God, it's so boring. I am of a completely different opinion. To me, this seems like it might be one of Magic Pixel's most interesting tables to date. Like, you guys are complaining because you say there's not a lot going on the screen. My biggest critique of Magic Pixel in the past is there's too much going on the screen. I actually like they've got a fan layout here, very simple. It's all going to depend on how the game play. I like the tentacles coming up on the screen. I mean, we're not seeing a whole lot now. Are the graphics rough? Yes, but from what I understand, Sea of Thieves graphics aren't all that crisp. Some of those 3D models could look a little bit better. I'm not going to lie about that. But, like, you look at this, is very different from what Magic Pixel usually do. Usually their tables are loaded down, way too busy, way too many obstacles. You hit the ball, and there's something blocking it right away as soon as it comes off the flipper. I like the way this plays. Now, is it going slow right now? Does it look a little rough? Yes, but, I'm excited about this. I think this one might be really good. I'm excited to see Magic Pixel do something different in the pinball space, and I think this could be very good. Graphics look like 1995. I'm not gonna disagree with you on that. There's not enough really to form an opinion of it yet, but I like the differentness of it compared to what Magic Pixel usually produced. Yes, that's because it's the actual video. The ball is really big, but if you look at some of Zen's Williams recreation, the ball's really big on that. I think what they're trying to do there is emulate some of the Williams tables through Zen. I would play a Captain Crunch table. There you go. Anyways, guys, that's the last thing I'm going to talk about. That news came out a couple hours before the show. There's not a lot to say about it. It's a very short demo video. That's our first look at gameplay. I like the table. The table's not as busy as Magic Pixel's usual table. The ball, people are saying it looks huge, but that's not necessarily a bad thing if you think about some of the Williams tables. at the end of the day, videos don't really mean anything. The proof's in the pudding with pinball. You got to play it to know whether or not you like it. So we'll see. I think it's December 31st it's coming out, or I'm not 100% sure if I got delayed or not, but yeah, we'll see in the very near future what it plays like. I'm actually pretty happy with that. All right, guys, so before we go, I did just want to bring up the poll really quickly. Final votes on the poll, 171 votes, and no surprise here, but at 53%, the winner is Media1Up, which makes perfect sense. I mean, John was the person working with Arcade1Up when they secured all these licenses. He has a history in the world of licenses, obviously. He can talk to these people. The big challenge with what John's doing is he can't overpromise because he's a new startup company. Obviously, he can't offer some of the numbers they used to offer through Arcade1Up. He's got to be a little bit more careful. So maybe he's not playing with the same money because this is his own money now. Maybe he's not playing with the same fervor that he had when he was with Arcade1Up. But, you know, I kind of agree. There you go. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for hanging out. I don't want to leave you too long. Sorry if this show felt like a rerun, but it's just something that came to my mind last night. I was downstairs playing my Killer Instinct Pro, playing Battletoads on it, being like, God damn, man, like this looks beautiful. I had what is it? And I never use these. I usually use the Sharp Pixels, but I had the CRT filter on. I was looking at it, and man, that game just looks so good on that 19-inch screen. I had such a fun time. I just thought it was so sad that, you know, this is the last time we're going to see a Killer Instinct through Arcade1Up. And I looked around my arcade and I started thinking about it, and I was like, wow, like, you know, how many of these companies are no longer going to work with Arcade1Up, and what a great opportunity it is for anybody new coming into the space for them working with them. So just seemed like a fun idea. Hopefully it wasn't too boring a show. Anyways, guys, thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Monday night. Have some fun, play some games, maybe even arcade. This is Michael B. the Game Genie. I'll talk to you next time. Oh, nope, wrong one. Right one.